I never believed in ghosts, at least, not until 2020. That year, I fell seriously ill. Peritonitis led to septicemia, and I was on the verge of death. When I was first admitted to the hospital, I could still sit up and speak a few words. But within days, I slipped into a state of constant high fever and mental fog. Doctors came and went for examinations and consultations. My family was repeatedly called in to sign documents, their faces growing more and more anxious. I heard them whispering in the hallway, things like, "The drug response is too strange, the numbers aren't dropping, the infection is spreading too fast." All of that was a blur to me. But there was one thing I remember with unsettling clarity. At some point, someone began standing by the wall in my hospital room. That person had no skin. His muscles and flesh were fully exposed, bright red, as if he'd been flayed alive. He stood motionless, pressed against the wall, never making a sound, never moving. During the day, with the lights on, he was just a vague outline blending into the wall shadows. But as soon as the lights went off at night, he became crystal clear, as though he were waking up in the dark. He stood stiff and straight, head slightly bowed, but I knew he was looking at me. The strange thing was, each night he moved closer. From the far corner, to the middle of the room, and then to my bedside. That slow, creeping approach made it hard to breathe. And yet, I couldn't speak of it to anyone. Every time a nurse came in to check on me, he vanished completely, as if he had never existed. Even the air would return to normal. On my final day in that hospital, he stood right at the foot of my bed. His stiff body leaned forward slightly, like he could lunge at any second. He was so close, I could hear faint hissing sounds from within his body, like blood boiling. That night, my condition worsened dramatically. The doctors made an emergency decision to transfer me to another hospital. Strangely, the moment I was wheeled into the new hospital, I felt a heavy weight lift off me, like something had been severed, thrown away. From that moment on, I never saw the red figure again. My condition began to improve, and the treatment finally started working. Even now, recalling those days makes my scalp crawl. The last night I saw him, when he stood at the foot of my bed, so close his face was nearly touching mine, I think he opened his mouth. And that mouth wasn't made for speaking. It was meant to swallow souls.
During a certain summer break in my sophomore year, our entire class attended software training at an institute in the city. I was staying at a classmate's house, sharing a room with two other girls. Our room was located at the far end of the third floor, hot, quiet, and strangely oppressive. That evening, the sky was overcast, as if rain was about to fall. I went downstairs alone to take out the trash. Just as I reached the landing between the second and third floors, I saw a girl in a white dress slowly walking up the stairs toward me. Her hair was long, damp, hanging loosely down past her back. I froze for a moment, thinking she was Qingyi, one of my roommates. She often wore white and had long hair. I didn't say anything, just watched her ascend. Her footsteps were so light, almost soundless. She climbed to the third floor and headed directly toward our room. But then I hesitated. Qingyi is taller than this girl. This one was a bit short, and her silhouette didn't quite match. Then I thought, maybe it was Shuer, our other roommate. She had recently bought a new dress. I quickened my pace to catch up. By the time I got to the door, the girl had already pushed it open and walked inside. The door hadn't been locked. I stood at the doorway and saw her in the center of the room, facing forward, feet together, completely still. Just as I was about to speak, she vanished. Like a broken projection, She simply blinked out of existence. No trace. No shadow. Nothing. I stood frozen, my palms slick with sweat, a chill crawling up my back. I stepped into the room. The curtains fluttered faintly in the still air. Qingyi and Shuai were still asleep under their blankets. I woke them up, my voice trembling. "Did either of you just go out?" Qingyi rubbed her eyes and mumbled, "No. We've been asleep the whole time." Shuai poked her head out of the covers. Her hair was short, recently cut to shoulder length. My body went cold. Who was that long-haired girl in white? And how did she disappear right in front of me? After that night, we started hearing our door gently creak open every night, but we never saw who it was. And me. I could never forget that figure. The girl who walked into our room and never came back out.
This was something my mom's coworker, Chui, told us herself. She said it happened back when she was young and loved traveling around. Once, she and some friends went on a budget trip, and to save money, they picked a cheap little inn tucked away in a narrow alley. Calling it an inn was generous. It was really just a rundown, 3-story brick building, its wooden doors loose on their hinges, and the whole place reeked of damp and mold. Chui stayed on the second floor. Her room was simple: a single light bulb, an old bed, and a noisy ceiling fan that squeaked and rattled nonstop. She planned to wash up and sleep early, but in the middle of the night, she was jolted awake by the sound of a woman crying, sharp, agonized wails that came in bursts from the room next door. The voice was full of pain, sometimes muttering, sometimes sounding like desperate pleading. At first, she assumed it was just a couple fighting. Everyone has their own drama, she thought, and turned over, trying to ignore it. But the crying didn't stop. It went on through the night. And strangely, there was only the woman's voice, no arguments, no response, no male voice at all. It was like she was crying to the air itself. That's when Chui got uneasy. She worried the woman might be having some sort of breakdown, maybe even suicidal thoughts. She threw on a jacket and went into the hallway to knock on the door next door. She knocked several times, but there was no answer. The door was locked tight. She leaned in and listened. Yes, the crying was still coming from inside. It sounded like it was pressed right up against the crack of the door, choked and low. A chill ran down her spine. She turned and bolted downstairs. She woke up the innkeeper, an older woman, and told her someone might be in trouble in the room next door. The innkeeper, still groggy and annoyed, just waved her off. "Don't overthink it," she said. "That's just the ceiling fan. Old fans make all kinds of noises. Stop scaring yourself." The more Chui tried to explain it was a human voice, the more irritated the woman got. "It's the middle of the night. Stop talking nonsense. Stay if you want or leave." Left with no choice, Chui slinked back to her room. She didn't sleep the rest of the night, just sat there, staring at the door, waiting for dawn. The moment it got light, she checked out without even bothering to eat and headed straight for the alley's exit. At the mouth of the alley, she ran into a few old locals chatting. Just as she passed by, one of the old men said, "That inn, huh? A girl hanged herself there just last month. Outsider. Checked in one night and hanged herself the next." Chui froze in her tracks. She hurried over and asked which room it was. "The second floor. Window side room," one of the older women said, pointing with her finger. "The one on the left. Haunted, that place. They left it empty for days after." It was the room next to hers. Even now, she remembers the sound from that night, wedged in the crack of the door, like a grudge slowly creeping into her ears. She's never stayed at Smalllands like that again. She says, some sounds aren't hallucinations. And they're not the wind, either. It's just that no one wants to believe you actually heard them.